Welcome back to The Growth Show. I'm your host, Whitney Bateson, and I am thrilled to welcome Liz Jalkiewicz to the podcast today. Liz is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, writer, editor, and book coach. She's worked in the field for over 15 years, doing all sorts of stuff, working from long-term care and supermarket, retail nutrition to communications and nonprofit work. And really throughout her career, Liz has always integrated her passion for writing and editing into every role that she's held. And that is what has led her to pursue entrepreneurship in this space. So she began the Dietitian Editor to help fellow dietitians reach their dreams of self-publishing. She's dedicated to empowering dietitians and other healthcare professionals to share their powerful messages and stories with the world by self-publishing on Amazon, further amplifying their influence, widening their reach, and creating more opportunities to generate passive income. And this is what I am so excited to share with you today. She is just full of knowledge. Through her business, Liz offers educational resources and editorial services for dietitians focused on writing, editing, proofreading, and self-publishing. Her signature online course, Click to Publish, has already helped over 90 students in their self-publishing journeys. So Liz lives in Maryland with her husband, 2 children, and their pup, Rocky. And fun fact, Liz is a graduate of our website program, the Wellness Pro website system. So when you visit her site, you'll get to see her great website that she created within our program. So as I mentioned, today we are going to be diving into how to get started with self-publishing, why you might want to start self-publishing, and it may be different than what you think. So I'm really excited to just break this down for anyone who's never heard about this before. You've been wanting to write a book maybe, but you're not sure. There's just so much to dive into. So let's just get into the episode. Welcome, Liz. I am so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Hi, Whitney. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and just so excited to talk about this really cool topic of self-publishing on Amazon. And I had told you before we hit record that this is something that is pretty new to me. Definitely nothing that we've ever talked about on the podcast before. So I'm really excited for folks who maybe have been heard about this and want to understand, more how to be successful at it, or people who are like, what the heck is this?
Right. What she's talking about published on.
Yeah. Is this, what are we talking about here? So I'm just excited to dive in. So let's just first start off with how did you get started in this Amazon self-publishing space yourself?
Yeah. So when I started my business, the Dietitian Editor, back in 21, I was working with clients one-on-one with their book manuscripts. So I was really more involved with the editing process. Still am today with a handful of one-on-one work, but really working on the manuscript, doing the editing, doing the proofreading. And then there was a client in the beginning of when I first started my business, and she's like, all right, Liz, now what? How do we actually get this thing, out to the world? Can you help me publish this on Amazon? And at that time, I was really intrigued. I didn't know too much about it, but I knew that this could be something that I can help folks with as my role of being the Dietitian Editor. So we kind of went on this journey together. I learned everything I possibly could at that point. We got her book published on Amazon. And then after that, just something clicked in my head. And I was like, this is really amazing that this is even available for anyone really, but specifically for healthcare professionals, dietitians, to share their message with the world, essentially. So I just thought to myself, I need to find a way to repackage everything that I learned, make it really consumable for folks to kind of learn A to Z how to do this thing in a relatively, good time frame, and give it to them kind of on a, here you go. This is what you have to follow. This is the roadmap so you can do it too. Because, doing one-on-one work is great. But as you know, just like an online business, if you can be in a more of a one-to-many model, this is how you do the thing, and then you share it with as many people as possible, you could have more impact way. So that's essentially how I got my feet wet in this space.
That's so cool. Yeah. So why should dietitians and healthcare professionals consider writing a book? What are some of the benefits that you see out there?
So many. So much. I think first, for a lot of folks, it's something that's on their bucket list. Just being a healthcare professional, a dietitian, you want to write a book one day. You want to be the author of XYZ book when you're doing your presentations, when you're getting interviewed by the media, to say that you're the author of XYZ. So I think for a lot of folks, it's just something that's on their list. But with that, there's also a lot of power behind it. You can have so much more reach, wider reach. So a lot of healthcare pros, may have group programs. They may have a private practice where they are working this more of a 9 to 5 schedule, and they can only reach so many people in their day-to-day work. So I think one huge benefit is having the ability to reach people globally with your message, with your philosophy on whatever it is that your expertise is in, your niche, and really try to target your ideal client online. So, for a lot of us in the space, it's important to customize, individualize, what we're our information when we're doing one-on-one work. But there's still a lot that you can share through a book to give people like a little bit of a taste of what your message is. Then they can continue on their wellness journey with other programs, services that you have to offer. So it's a good low ticket entry point for someone to begin to know, like, and trust you before they dive into maybe like a bigger program that you have.
hmm Okay. So it's like both a marketing tool and getting your message out there. And obviously, on this podcast, we talk a lot about building your email list and
Yeah.
blogging and SEO. And we'll kind of come back to this a little bit, but like, so one of the benefits is that it is actually a marketing tool and it can be a bit of a sales tool as well. Like there's the knowledge leadership, but it's actually growing your reach.
Absolutely. I think it is possible for some folks to make a living off just being an author, publishing lots of books, right? But I think for the majority of us, it is more of that lead generation tool, that marketing tool. How can we kind of reach all of these people in this funnel and find our people, find the people that we resonate with, who is our ideal client, and then from there, continue them on that wellness journey. So yeah, it's definitely a lead marketing tool, low entry point, which I know I mentioned before, but I think it's worth pointing out again. Because,
Yeah.
books can range between if it's an ebook versus a print book, $5 to $20, $25. That is an easier, what's the word I'm looking for? Easier for someone who doesn't know you to just click add to cart and
Yeah.
purchase versus, signing up for an 8-week program or a 3-month package of one-on-one, sessions or something like that. So it's easier for folks to do that. In the books, though, I will say one kind of tip or something I recommend that everyone do when you're creating a book is have some type of call to action or a
hmm
couple. You don't want to overwhelm your reader, but 1 to 3 maybe calls to action so that when they complete the book, they have somewhere else to go after. Even if it's as simple as follow me on Instagram, join my email list, and then you have the QR code. Or,
hmm
a question like, did you know I have this program? And it's just a way for folks to continue on with you once the book is done.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's part of the funnel, but it is also this validation of your professional expertise. It is a
Mhm.
longer form piece of content, so longer than a lead magnet. It is a bit more of a commitment for someone. Granted, it's, $5 versus free, but it's also a longer time
Sure.
commitment. So it means that this person who bought the book is also probably a warmer lead and more likely to potentially move through your funnel and become a client and customer. So I
Yeah,
love
a
it.
little more invested, right? Like they're taking that
Exactly.
first step to whatever the book is about, right? They're taking that first step to overcome that health, condition or whatever it is that you're writing about. So
Yeah.
I absolutely, yeah. And there's a slew of other benefits too, but those are just some that come to mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that this is, yes, you can make money off of this, but this tactic that we're talking about is not necessarily where we're trying to become a best-selling author and get like a big book deal or anything like that. That could be something else that happens in the future. This could definitely, I'm assuming, put you on a path for that
Sure.
in the future. But this is how to bring people into your audience. So I love it and get them to want and like you said, know, like, and trust. So
Yeah.
let's start from the very beginning here. Hopefully everyone is like, okay, this does sound like a valuable thing, no matter what kind of business you're running. So what is Amazon KDP? Can you
Yes.
explain that a little bit?
Sure. So the acronym KDP stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. So Amazon KDP is Amazon's self-publishing platform. You can create your ebooks on there. So your Kindle books for Amazon, you can create print books, and you can even create audiobooks as well.
Oh,
So there's a
cool.
few different varieties within the print category. You could do hardcover, paperback. There's some, customizable aspects to it in terms of color versus black and white. So they really make it as user friendly as possible to create. So it's their self-publishing platform.
Okay. All right. And so why would someone use that over maybe any other kinds of platforms that are out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's several reputable ones out there. I personally kind of give Amazon KDP the gold star, if you will. I think it's
Okay.
really, again, you just user friendly. It's accessible for everyone to use too. So it's free to create your account. And then
Okay.
from there, it's even free to upload your books. There's no limit. You can upload as many books as you want. Now, obviously, I just want to just kind of like pause there for a second and just let everyone know there is a strategy behind doing what you do on Amazon to be more discoverable and things like that. And it is a saturated market because it is free and because
Mm,
can can publish whatever they want. So there is like a little bit of a silver, a double-edged sword there. But I
yeah.
think as healthcare professionals, we know that we're creating evidence, information that's evidence-based. It's quality information. So we're trying to drown out some of that noise
Yeah.
that's on Amazon by creating these better option for consumers. So
Hmm.
yeah, so I think for those reasons, free, it's user friendly, it's accessible. So many people have Amazon already. It's
Yeah.
something that's well trusted. We use it almost every day. People go there kind of intuitively to just search for things that they need. Though if they're typing in a keyword that kind of resonates with a book that you've created, your book can be on that first or second page. And in Amazon also, I think this is probably one of the biggest reasons is that you can reach this untapped audience of over 300 million plus people who have active accounts on this platform.
Mm,
So aside from the traditional marketing that we do through social media, email marketing, our websites,
yeah.
blogs, all of that, this can be another way for you to reach potential clients through Amazon's website, through Amazon SEO, search engine optimization. So it's
Okay.
kind of, you're kind of partnering with Amazon, if you will. They
Hmm.
have the audience, you have the knowledge. So you create that book, post it on there, and, organically you can find these potential clients. Pretty,
Okay.
pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I think when we think about marketing our businesses, sometimes we go to the typical ones of, like you said, social media. Okay, I'm going to go on Instagram. Okay, I know I need to be found in Google, and that's it. But there are
Right.
all these different places that our audience is hanging out online where they're looking for answers, and especially when it comes to Amazon, people are looking for answers. They are going to be searching for a book or some kind of resource
Yeah.
to help them. So that's the other thing we want to keep in mind is we want to go where our customers are, but we want to go where they are when they're looking for what we do. If our
And
customers like
ready to buy
yeah,
when they're
right, exactly,
right.
right. Yeah, that intent to actually take action is there.
Yeah.
So it's a really great place for us to be, and it's an untapped place, it sounds like, for a lot of professionals. And the way to do that is actually can be fairly easy. I mean, writing a book,
Yeah.
we'll get into that, but it's not going to cost you a lot of money. It's not like you need to, like you said, it can be accessible for all different professionals to actually tap into this. So that is very cool. So let's talk about the types of books and content that we're going to be putting out there because I don't think we're talking
Yeah.
about novels. Can
Sure.
you explain like what low and lower content books are and maybe some examples?
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite things to talk about because just like we said, I think folks hear me say like, you can write a book, like you can do it. And they get so overwhelmed. Like, write a book? Like that is a huge ordeal. It's going to take me over a year to do that. And for some folks, it might, depending on the book that you're writing. But when it comes to low or lower content books, these are books that are more quick to turn around. So Amazon's definition of a low content book is something that where the pages repeat in nature and there's little to no content on the pages. It could be like a simple lined notebook or a dot grid journal or something where it's meant for the user to fill out.
Oh,
So a low content book are really simple. Like like I said, it's all about the cover really in terms of finding your client. Like, what does the cover look like? Who are you trying to reach? Lower content books are kind of that sweet spot between a low and a full on manuscript. And this is where I found a lot of success with students in my community are building these lower content books. So these are things like workbooks, journals that have prompts in them, coloring books, activity books, meal planning, notebooks, anything that involves like tracking, like symptom trackers if someone has food allergies or IBS, like digestive symptoms. There's honestly, there's no limit to it. Like depending on the niche that you're in, there is a need for one of these lower content books. And it's could be very specific to who your target client is, right? Women versus men, kids versus adult, athletes versus non-athletes, like busy parents versus, you know what I mean? So there's
Single.
so many options. And I think that makes it takes a little bit of that pressure off of like, okay, so you're saying I don't have to write like an 80,000 word manuscript. Correct.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are just some quick examples. Like I know students in the course, their niches really vary within my community. So we have some folks who are in school nutrition, which I know you previously have worked in.
Yeah.
Have some folks who are geriatric dietitians, some in digestive health, some renal. So all of them have kind of found their niche and now are creating these books to help provide solutions to their clients of things that they're struggling with, things that they are aspiring to be, so it's really beautiful to see the things that they've created. And as a side note, I think as dietitians, we're so service driven that it's so nice to like hold something in your hand that's tangible and say, I created this. Like, this is something I can sell to help people.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love it. And I love that it can be, so they're basically action oriented pieces of content for the most part. There might be some
Right.
educational
Great.
content in there, but it's not meant for someone to sit down on their chair and like read front to back.
Yeah. It could be a mix. So I know
Okay.
for them, there could be, if it's like 100-page book, let's say, maybe the first 20 pages are the message.
Okay.
How it's supposed to use this book. Give them some examples. Like there's one book that is a 90 day, it's like a tracking tool to track your protein intake for women going through menopause. So it's like very specific for who this is for. So there is message, some research up front, and then it goes into this 90-day where the pages repeat.
Yep.
So
Okay.
some content, some for the user to fill out.
Yeah. And even hearing you talk about it too, it really sounds like it is this graduation from a lead magnet or a freebie opt-in where those are great for lead generation, but there's no way that I wouldn't recommend giving someone a 90-page PDF
Right.
as a lead magnet. It's just really overwhelming because that's not what someone's expecting usually. They're kind of expecting something a little bit more quick, something they can quickly reference and all of that. So if you are coming up with an idea and you're like, man, I just wish that there was some in between and it doesn't feel like it's a course. I don't know what it is, but it could be potentially one of these lower content books.
Yeah.
That is that graduation. And, for $5, someone can get this. They could buy a copy, get it sent to their house or have it on their Kindle or whatever case may be.
Yeah. And I will say for the lower content books, since they are more user driven, like the user's supposed to fill it out. Ebooks don't typically work for this type of book just because they won't be able to fill it out in the Kindle. So typically these are more print books.
Okay.
But I love what you were saying, Whitney, about it being like a graduation from a lead magnet. And I feel like as a good action item for listeners, I would encourage them to take a look at what lead magnets you currently have and ask yourself, because you don't have to start from scratch. I think so many of us always are like, we have to start over and create this new beautiful thing. Look at the lead magnets that you currently have. If they're on your website already, or if they're like in your Google Drive and you have to dust them off, how can you kind of expand that content into a lower content book?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that probably won't take you too long. If it's something where you had a 3-day meal planning guide as a lead magnet with a recipe, shopping list,
Right.
you can just turn that into a 90-day, add a little more content, and you have your first lower content book. So don't overthink it. Don't think it has to be this overwhelming, huge project. It could be something just like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are some tips you have for creating this content that's going to speak to your target audience? Because I think even listeners, I know myself, sometimes even coming up with that idea of what it should be, maybe
Mm.
folks don't have a lot of lead magnets right now, or they're not really sure which one is popular
Yeah.
and they're just trying to figure this out. Like, how do you kind of make sure that this is also an entry point to other things? Because we're talking about the
Right.
fact that this is part of your funnel. So I know that there's also this concern of giving away too much information or solving the problem completely for customers. We want to give them some wins, but we also want them to continue to work with us and come back. So, yeah,
I
what
love
are some
this
tips you
question.
have? Yeah.
I love this question for so many reasons. So I think, and I struggle with this too. Sometimes like, okay, what's the next thing I'm creating, right? We don't have to come up with that idea. It's so important to leverage your audience and ask them what they're looking for. Sometimes we think we know what our audience needs or wants, but we could be a little bit off base sometimes, and just involving your audience, doing a quick survey, a Google form, a quick poll through email, again, email marketing, or creating a lead magnet that's a quiz. I think you had one on your website,
Mhm.
Whitney, that was like that. Ask your audience. That would be my number one. Don't feel like you have to figure it all out. Our audience so many times will tell you, like, this is what I need help with. So I would start there. And I would also say, don't be afraid of giving it all away, because honestly, if you all the information is out there on the internet. Like, whatever it is you want to do, if you want to learn how to build a car, like, you can figure it out if you go on the internet. People don't want that. They want it A to Z. Here's the blueprint. Here's the roadmap packaged up nicely. And they sometimes need that accountability. They need that community. They need to overcome those mindset barriers. So even if you gave everyone everything they needed to know, they're still missing a lot of pieces. And
Mm.
so I would say, don't worry too much about giving it all away.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay. And so
But I
then
can understand that's a concern for some.
yeah, yeah, and I think to your point, you talked about having CTAs throughout the book too, so that you can encourage people to go further and if they're looking for support, because I especially can imagine if they're in the thick of it, if they're like in the middle of the book and they're what points you're expecting your customers might have a challenge or might start having some self-doubt or some current concern or confusion. It's a perfect time
Yeah,
to say like, I'm available to help you. You don't have to do it alone. And here's how I can help.
absolutely. That's a great call to action. Another one too is, again, just bringing it back to like our website. You may have specific blog articles that answer the question beautifully, or kind of help folks get over that sticky point or that hurdle. So at that point in the book, QR codes are great for books. They don't
Okay.
they don't serve a great purpose in some other, places, but in book, like, that QR code is not going to disappear, right? So if
Mhm.
someone is there, they're like, oh yeah, she has a blog article about XYZ or a freebie about that topic, like, I'm definitely gonna check that out. And it's just a simple scan. So I would, you don't want to overwhelm them with so many, but let's say you had like a top 10 list for resources about, a certain topic, like, incorporate those throughout the book, because that'll be just traffic to your website, number one, which is great, but you're also helping that reader, showing them that you are the expert in this area, you have the resources, and all those things will kind of stack up so that when they're looking to take that next step, they think of you.
Yep. Yeah. And it's so that you also didn't have to create this gigantic volume that has every possible thing in it. If you have a great blog article or another freebie or worksheet that's specific to that, link to it. That's fine. And the people that
Yeah.
don't need it and they can keep moving. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
There's so many call to actions you could do, like even some of the templates. If you created a Canva template that someone can edit, but it's like a habit tracker or the symptom log sheet, they can just link to that and edit it and make it their own. Like, I think it's really, that's, if you don't have calls to action, you're really missing out on a lot of great opportunity.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's such an interesting point because there's lots of different books out there. And when we're just reading a book, like I'm just reading a fiction book right now, like obviously there's no calls to action. It's just for entertainment
Yeah.
and whatever. This is not that kind of book. This is an action focused book. And so people are already wanting to take action because they bought it. So let's invite them to continue to take action and connect with you or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be.
Can I add one other like kind of quick tip on this that I've learned over the years in doing this is that when people buy on Amazon, they don't give you the information, right? Like Jane Smith purchased your book. It's private
Mm,
information. You don't know who actually purchased your book. So one kind of hack, if you will, or tip is make a freebie and segment it, tag the segment as Amazon purchases or Amazon book that's you only use for the book. You don't use it anywhere else on your website, on, social media. This way, when people scan that QR code or go to that clean URL, that link to download that freebie, you
mhm.
know that person purchased your book because that's the only place you have it available. So that then when you're doing email marketing or any kind of marketing, you can target your message to those folks who bought the book. Maybe you're coming out with book 2 or book 3. You can tell those folks, hey, you bought my first book. You can also ask for reviews that way too, since you know
Oh,
those people bought the book. So
nice.
there's lots of like fun things you could do when you segment it that way.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you brought that up for so many reasons because measuring the ROI on our marketing is so important. And
Mhm.
it can be great to see, like, especially too, if you ever get into running ads and all of that, Facebook will tell you this is how many leads you got and this is how much it cost. And that's helpful information. And you can look at your page views and email subscribers and all of that. But we want to also track these people through our funnel and see how many of them converted. It's only part of the
Mhm.
puzzle to
Right.
have a lot of sales of this book. If it turns out we get a lot of sales of this book, and that's great, but then we're still sitting here not having discovery calls, not having people
Mhm.
signing up for our programs, then there's maybe that product wasn't the right one. And maybe you want to have 2 books that you're going to test and see which one
Yeah.
actually results in people who continue to work with you and want to move forward. So it's just kind of, it's that funnel optimization process. It takes time, it builds on itself and all of that. But that's kind of an advanced thing that you just mentioned is have that freebie and you could have the same freebie. It could be habit tracker worksheet. Maybe
Yeah.
the ebook is something else that's more about protein, but this one is about, hey, there's actually other things that, if you want to be eating
Exactly.
enough protein, like there's some habits that you want to be putting in place in order to get regular meals or something. You could
Mhm.
still have that freebie on your website as just you know, it
Sure.
exists, but then you would
Sure.
have a separate landing page like in ConvertKit or whatever that looks exactly the same, delivers the same content, could even
Differently.
have the same
Yeah.
email, but a different tag, different link. And that way, when people come in, you're going to see that additional tag and you can still treat them the same as everyone else. But if, yeah,
Sure.
you want to get a little fancy, you could have some different email sequences, some welcome sequences, or at least just use it for that measurement of what's the ROI on this marketing effort, basically
Absolutely.
what this
And
is.
it's really pretty simple, like, all in all, I think if you have an email marketing platform,
Yeah.
Flowdesk, ConvertKit, whatever it is, like, they all have these functionalities, and so I might as well we're paying for the tool, might as well use that, right?
Yeah, yeah, and monitor. Yeah, I love that. So, for your students, how many of these books are they like, what's the limit? Like, do people just keep making new ones,
Well,
or
it's
is it
like,
kinda
oh
like,
gosh,
"Hey, what's the
I wish
strategy here?"
I wish I wrote down a statistic before the call because I did a December call with my community as like a recap of the year and the look ahead. And I
Yeah,
forget the exact number, but it was pretty high. It was for those who did publish, like they published their first book, they were more likely. Oh gosh, I'll like send it to you so you could put in the show notes. But it was like
yeah.
a really high percent that then went on to create books 2, 3, 4. So they're
Mhm.
more likely to continue publishing after that first publication. For some folks, like they get so close, but they don't hit publish. They don't like they need that, kind of extra nudge to
Yeah,
get to that point. But once they do, then their rates of publishing again and again go up and up and up. Because it's just learning the foundation, learning the
right.
bones of how to do the thing. And I think these types of books that we're talking about are a great entry point, especially for first time self published author. You don't have to break into the field with this, like you said earlier, best selling, novel. It
Yeah.
can be these books that simply serve your audience. They don't have to be serving everyone, because when you serve everyone, you serve no one, right? That's what you. So just take a close look at your audience, pull them, ask them, what are they looking for? Start there, and don't feel like it has to be this overwhelming task. You probably already have a couple lead magnets that you can turn into books. So I would say start there.
Mm. Yeah, and it's really it's about the strategy. You're not going to be putting out as many as if you were to be blogging. Blogging is
Oh,
something you're going to do more regularly. Even lead magnets in our business. I think it's fine to have a bunch. I think it's good to have some that you rotate through, but I don't think that we need to be creating a lead magnet for every little thing.
mhm.
And this was advice that I heard a while ago. It's like just have a few core ones that
Really
these blog
governing.
posts. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of saying like this funnel, okay, this one's going to be about this topic, this funnel's about this
Mhm.
topic. And anytime that I'm blogging around this typical topic or talking about it on social media, this is the lead magnet that I'm going to sprinkle
Already.
in and talk to people about. And I think probably the same goes for these books. You don't need to be just putting a bunch out there. It doesn't necessarily mean that
Mhm.
more is better, but it is about probably putting them out, seeing how they perform, and then learning what else might be resonating with people and
Yeah,
putting that out.
absolutely. And I think one of the beautiful things about this too is that you're self-publishing, so you have full control. If you have a book out there for 3 months and you for whatever reason, like didn't perform well, you can remove that listing. You don't
Mhm.
have, or you can keep it up and just see, maybe it's like more of a seasonal thing and sales hit in December versus the summer. So there's no
Yeah.
harm in keeping it up there to, probably for like a full year to see how it performs through all the month. But again, you own the rights. You can make edits, you can change things. So I think thinking of it as this fluid, it's still a fluid document. Even though you hit publish, you can create a second edition. Like there's lots of ways that you can keep it fresh or whatever feels right to you. I guess
Mhm.
that's the key thing.
Yep. Right. I love well, and just actually as I was sitting here listening to you say that, I was thinking too, this could be really great for people who they want to connect with their audience more deeply, but maybe they just really don't love talking or they don't really want to put out a course. And I know there are so many professionals out there that they just love writing and they love kind of putting it's a more calm, peaceful process of just putting the
Yeah.
content out there. And so it can be something that maybe this is a better, more comfortable marketing tactic for you than some of the other tactics that are out there.
Mhm.
Same with like,
Yeah, it could be like the lower pressure on your own timeline. But I will say it is important to still kind of put some deadlines in place for
yes.
yourself if you don't have that
Yeah.
community and accountability, because it's very easy to say, I'm going to write a book this year. And then before you know it, it's September and it's like, what?
Right.
Like, even if it's for yourself and you want it to be more of a calm kind of experience, set some deadlines for yourself and try to really, even share them with like one colleague just to keep yourself
Accountable.
on the timeline. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then going back to the performance conversation and how the book is performing and all of that, I think one question that might come up, we heard that Amazon is a great platform and will allow you to reach people, but what are some tips for marketing a self-published book and really making sure that people know about it and
Yeah.
it's out there and serves the purpose for your business?
Sure, sure. So there's several different things we could touch on here. For one, I think most people think, okay, once I hit publish on the book, then the marketing begins. But I think that's a really huge misconception. And it's a missed opportunity if you wait until that point. Pre-launch marketing is really important. And I think it's something that not enough people do. So, and it makes the process real too for the author,
Yeah.
because you're putting it out there, right? You're sharing
Yeah.
it with your audience. So definitely doing some pre-launch marketing, sharing with your audience, hey, book coming out fall 2025. Like you don't have to give specifics or any specific dates. Create an opt-in form, give them a little teaser about what it's about without nailing it down, nailing every specific down. Get
Yeah.
some people on your email list for those who are just interested. They just want to know more. And
Yeah.
as you are going through the process throughout the year, you can give them some updates. Hey, these are some potential titles I'm thinking of. What do you think? Do you like A, B, or C? This is the cover design. Like involve your audience as much as possible in the process, for one, it'll create buzz. It'll make them excited. Like, you're tuned into what it is that they want because it's for them ultimately. So I think that is a great opportunity to start
Yeah.
with pre-launch. Amazon SEO also is really important. That could be a whole other episode, so I won't get into too much detail, but just like with blogging, you try to do SEO for Google. If you're publishing your book on Amazon, you want to do some SEO for Amazon. So making sure you do some keyword research, seeing, you get to choose 7 keywords when you upload your book. So you have like 7 different opportunities for folks to type in different words to bring your book up. So you want to really see what words align with the book that you're creating, and that it's not a huge saturated market. So how many search results are coming up when you type in your keyword? Is it like 50,000? That may be a little bit hard to rank high, right?
Yeah.
So that's a key piece as well. And then I think a third thing is leveraging your existing platform. So if you have a website, if you have a blog, how can you leverage that? You're already getting traffic there from folks with your blog, with all the SEO you're doing for your website. How can you create a landing page? I know you came into our Click to Publish group last year over the summer and did a wonderful presentation specifically on this topic. Yeah, creating like one landing page for your book where you can have people opt in for when it's going to be released, share a little bit about you, who's the book for, who's it not for, maybe some teasers. So yeah, I don't know if you want to add, Whitney, a little bit to it, but that's a great opportunity too.
Yeah, yeah, I love what you're saying about pre-launching, and that's definitely something it seems like you can treat this a little bit like if you're launching a course or a program. It's
Mhm.
maybe not as intense because it's not like a course, we're wanting that to actually be a revenue stream and be something that sells and all of that. This book,
Yeah.
like we talked about, is a marketing tool, but following that same process of the pre-launch. And so I love what you said. On your website, you can create this page and you can change its purpose depending on, is the book launched or not launched. So
Mhm.
that pre-launch phase of teasing it, I love that so much because people want to learn about you and they want to know what they're getting into, and you can have those opt-ins. That's definitely something that we covered when I was in your group, was
Mhm.
making sure that you are building your email list and having these readers come into your audience if they're not already in your audience. And then once your book is published, using that page to totally like have an opt-in for people to receive a free, you know, free chapter if it's chapters, or a
Yeah.
worksheet from the book, a little preview, a special video from you, bonus
Like a
content.
trailer video. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like anything to just get people to dive deeper and connect with
Mhm.
you a little bit more. And then that way, and reviews, obviously, especially if you are doing that pre-launch, you can get that like beta group of people that are interested in your book. You could give them some initial drafts or something, get them to give some early reviews. You
Mhm.
can put those on the site. That social proof is just so important. And then you can also be using that page to then call people to check out your services, or, learn more about something else that you offer. And so, yeah, I think that page is great. That can be linked in anytime you're talking about your book. You can have a specific page on your site to
Mhm.
be speaking to it. Then on your website, you want to be having that book talked about in a lot of different ways because it is showing your expertise. So on your about page, talking about it. On your homepage, you could have a little section about the book that you have, and have the button, instead of going straight
Yeah.
to Amazon, could be
Yes,
going
I
to
was
that
gonna
landing
say that.
page.
Yeah,
Don't
give
send
yourself traffic. Yeah, give yourself, you worked hard on that book. Like, don't send people directly to Amazon. Have them come through. You don't want people to click too much because then you might
right.
lose them. Right? But if it's
Yes.
just your landing page and like buy from Amazon, or, link to Amazon, get that traffic, send them to Amazon. So yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So we want to make sure that we keep people on long enough to learn and connect with you, and then really want that book. And then Amazon, it's the same way. We don't want to send people to Instagram to learn about our businesses solely,
Right.
because there's so much noise there and distractions
Well,
and
and who knows what can happen with these platforms, right? I know we're
true.
recording now, but with everything with TikTok and everything, like you just never know. So if you have control of your
Hmm.
website, you control of your email. So bring people home, bring people there
Right.
for
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, and just one other thing I'll say too, and you alluded to this, if you're blogging, even if you're blogging once a month, we've had guests and past students on who have talked about the success they've had with just even blogging once a month in their business
Mhm.
to drive traffic. You don't need to be setting out to be a blogger and generating tons and tons of traffic, but leveraging those blog posts, and instead of having a CTA in that blog post that is to one of your lead magnets, you can occasionally be having that CTA to your book page so
Right.
people can learn about it there. So I think those are just so many great ways. And then, if you're on WordPress, there's a tool that I love called Pretty Links,
Oh,
and it's a link shortener. And we use it all the time for everything. And basically, the same way that I don't know what other people use, to be honest, but the way Bitly used to be a shortener
yeah.
in the past. I
It's
mean, it
on the
still exists.
URL.
Yeah. So on WordPress, you put that plugin in, and then you can just put in whatever place you want people to
Right.
go, and then you can create your own short links there. So yeah, leveraging your website for a lot of different things, I think is great. And you were also a member of our website course as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
yeah, and how has your website helped support your work in this space?
Well, let me just start by saying the program was excellent. I highly recommend it. I think your team does such a great job, like with the tutorials, the support. It's no fluff. It's like you need this A to Z. Like this is how you do it. The videos are short, consumable, and when we had questions, like you guys were on top of it. So it made any challenge or hurdle or obstacle like it was seamless because we had the question, it was answered, and we kept moving. So thank you and your team for making it a good experience. Because I think
Awesome.
redoing a website that is overwhelming, at least for me, for
Yeah.
most folks. So we really made it as simple and easy as possible. But yeah, I think I was able to really transform my site from it was a good site before. It served its purpose for a couple of years, but I was really looking to transform it, elevate it, make it look more professional, and really have it not only look better, but work for me better. So people
Yeah.
are able to book calls, whether it's a discovery call or a paid like book strategy call. I was just able to segment out what my offerings are in a better flow. So it made more
Mhm.
sense of like the tiers of options that I had. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing but good things to say. I will say though, I still have so many ideas and so many things I want to do
Yeah,
that are
same.
I have to like, block it in because I'm like, oh, I can make a page about this. And then you have to stop too and say, okay, well, you don't want to create like too
Too
bulky,
much.
of a website either.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice to have the options and be able to create what you need. And yeah, if you decide, "Hey, I wanna publish a new book and I really want a separate landing page about it that really
Yeah.
goes into detail," you can do it, and it's not gonna
Yeah.
hold you back.
I will say that too. And that's one of the things I loved about your program was I feel confident enough now to like go in on the back end and do these things that I want to do. I don't have to, if there's like a specific question, I know I can reach out or find a resource to help me, but I
Yeah.
know how to do the basics. And that's really important because then that doesn't hold me back of like, I want to create a new page or I want to do this new, functionality. So
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to move at the speed of light, and we have these ideas, and so yeah, if we have to go emailing someone to change a little thing, or it's
plug
going to
it
take
down.
forever. Yeah, it really does. So, very cool. Well, we've talked about your program a few times, and so similarly to how we made sure that you got the support anytime you struggled, and gave you that reassurance, I know that that's really something that you do in your program, plus so much more. So can you talk a little bit more about your Click to Publish program?
Sure. Yeah. So my program is Click to Publish. I actually just rebranded it in the fall. So it's Click to Publish Quick Start. And we made some changes that I really feel have been for the better. One of them is that I now have like this 5-step process to the book framework for so how to go
Okay.
from A to Z, like really more of a blueprint. When I first created the course, it was really comprehensive. It was like everything I knew at that time and more. Now it's still comprehensive, but it's very much like you go from this step to this step to this step. It's the no fluff, just what you need kind of a
Yeah.
course. And so everything from making some of those like key decisions up front, like what's the book about? potential title? What are those keywords and categories? Like all those key things that you want to just like set up from the beginning, do that due diligence and research to building your book, formatting it,
Okay.
creating the cover, like all the things, the
You
marketing
cover
and
all of it.
actually hitting publish, like what that whole upload. So it really
Mhm.
walks you through A to Z. We also have a great community, a Facebook community of over 90 students and growing. And so it's a really lovely community, engaging group.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. All right. Well, we'll have the link in the show notes. And then where can people find you online and connect with you and learn more from you?
Yeah. So I'm at thedietitianeditor.com and I'm active on Instagram at the dietitian editor.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and all your knowledge, Liz.
Thanks, Whitney. Take care.
Okay, thank you so much for listening to today's episode of The Growth Show. And a huge thanks to Liz for joining us and for sharing all of your absolutely wonderful knowledge about this. Check out the resources that Liz has. We have those in the show notes, and make sure you check out her website too. And if you'd like to learn more about our website program, the one that Liz used to create her website and one that you can use to create a website for your business to market your book and grow and all of that, then check out the Wellness Pro website system. Go to wellnessprowebsite.com to see what's inside and look at past student websites. And then you can also join the waitlist from there too, because we'll be opening doors again soon. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, share it with your fellow entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time on The Growth Show.